You've probably trusted eggs for decades. Simple, affordable, and packed with protein. But what if the way most people over 60 prepare it is slowly damaging their legs without even realizing? A recent 9-year study from the National Institute on Aging followed 2,800 seniors and discovered something alarming. Certain daily habits involving this one food were linked to increased joint pain, chronic inflammation in the knees, and up to 50% faster muscle loss in the lower body. The worst part: these habits are shockingly common even among health-conscious seniors. But here's the good news. When older adults corrected just 7 simple mistakes, they regained leg strength, reduced stiffness, and even slept better at night. In this video, we'll uncover all 7 hidden mistakes and how to fix them without giving up your favorite meals. Before we begin, tell us your age and how often you eat this food in the comments. We're replying to everyone. Let's begin. Mistake number 1. Frying eggs in vegetable oil. A hidden threat to your foot and ankle health. The main problem with frying eggs in vegetable oil lies in how omega-6 fatty acids become oxidized and trigger inflammation in your joints, particularly affecting your feet and ankles. Common vegetable oils like corn oil or soybean oil contain high levels of omega-6 fatty acids. When you heat these oils to fry eggs, high temperature causes these fats to break down and form harmful oxidation byproducts, including aldehydes and lipid peroxides. These toxic compounds just simply enter your bloodstream together with fried eggs you eat. Once in your blood, these oxidized compounds act like irritants that activate your immune system. Your immune cells mistakenly identify them as threats and launch an inflammatory response. This inflammation specifically targets the tissues surrounding your joints, with your feet bearing the brunt of the damage. Your knees, ankles, and toe joints, the areas that support body weight every single day, become primary targets for this inflammatory attack. The joints in your feet are particularly vulnerable because they experience constant stress from walking, standing, and supporting your entire body weight. When inflammation strikes these already stressed areas, it causes the joint tissues to swell, stiffen, and become painful. Over time, this chronic inflammation makes it increasingly difficult to stand up smoothly, walk with flexibility, or move your feet and ankles through their normal range of motion. What makes this especially concerning is that this damage happens gradually and silently. Each time you fry eggs in vegetable oil, you're essentially feeding your body compounds that fuel joint inflammation. For people over 60, whose joints are already experiencing age-related changes, this daily exposure to oxidized omega-6 fats can accelerate joint deterioration and significantly impact mobility. The inflammation doesn't just cause temporary discomfort. It creates a cycle where ongoing exposure to these oxidized fats keeps your immune system in a constant state of alert, continuously attacking the delicate tissues around your foot and ankle joints. This persistent inflammation prevents proper healing and gradually breaks down the cartilage and soft tissues that keep your joints moving smoothly. Think of it this way: every time you heat vegetable oil to high temperatures for frying, you're essentially creating inflammatory compounds that your body treats as invaders. These compounds circulate through your bloodstream and settle into the most stressed parts of your body, your weight-bearing joints. Your feet, which carry you through thousands of steps each day, become the primary battleground for this unnecessary inflammation. You don't feel the damage immediately. Instead, it builds up over months and years of regular consumption. What starts as occasional morning stiffness in your ankles gradually progresses to more persistent pain and reduced mobility. Simple activities like getting out of bed, climbing stairs, or walking longer distances become increasingly challenging. Therefore, frying eggs in vegetable oil is a hidden contributor to foot and ankle problems, especially as you age. But the oil isn't the only danger on your plate. Mistake number 2. Pairing eggs with processed meats. the hidden muscle destroyer in your legs. When you enjoy eggs alongside bacon or sausage for breakfast, you might think it is a protein-packed start to your day. However, this popular combination is secretly damaging the muscles in your legs through a process called glycation, which creates harmful compounds known as AGEs. AGEs, or advanced glycation end products, form when processed meats like bacon and sausage undergo curing with salt and sugar, then get cooked at high temperatures. These meats are loaded with preservatives, nitrates, and added sugars that react with proteins during the cooking process. When you fry bacon until crispy or cook sausages in a hot pan, you're creating even more of these toxic compounds. The real problem begins after you eat this combination. These AGEs don't simply pass through your digestive system harmlessly. Instead, they enter your bloodstream and begin attaching themselves directly to muscle fibers throughout your body, particularly targeting the large muscle groups in your legs, your calves, thighs, and hip muscles. Once these AGEs bind to your muscle fibers, something dangerous happens. Your immune system doesn't recognize these modified proteins as normal parts of your body. Instead, it identifies them as foreign invaders that need to be eliminated. This triggers an inflammatory response specifically within your muscle tissue, causing your immune cells to attack the very muscles they should be protecting. This inflammation primarily affects your leg muscles because they contain the largest concentration of muscle fibers and experience the most daily stress from walking, climbing stairs, and supporting your body weight. Your calf muscles, which help you push off with each step, and your thigh muscles, which power you up stairs and hills, become inflamed and begin to weaken. The inflammation doesn't just cause temporary soreness like you might experience after a workout. Instead, it creates chronic, low-level damage that accumulates over time. Your muscle fibers lose their ability to contract efficiently, making them weaker and less responsive. Recovery after physical activity becomes slower and more difficult because the ongoing inflammation prevents proper muscle repair. As this process continues day after day, you'll notice subtle changes in your leg strength and endurance. Climbing stairs becomes more tiring than it used to be. Walking longer distances leaves your legs feeling heavy and fatigued. This muscle damage happens gradually so that most people don't connect their declining leg strength to their breakfast choices. They might attribute their fatigue to aging or lack of exercise, never realizing that the combination of eggs with processed meats is actively breaking down their muscle tissue. Your leg muscles, which should remain strong and functional well into your later years, instead become progressively weaker and more prone to fatigue. Simple activities like standing up from a chair, walking up a flight of stairs, or maintaining balance while walking become increasingly challenging. Therefore, pairing eggs with processed meats, gradually weakening the very foundation that keeps you mobile and active throughout your life. Even when eggs look harmless, heat can turn them against you. Mistake 3. Overcooking eggs. How burnt edges destroy your leg muscle building. When you cook eggs until they have burnt edges and become dry and rubbery, you're unknowingly destroying one of the most important nutrients your leg muscles need to stay strong, an amino acid called leucine. Leucine acts like a key that starts your body's muscle-building engine, specifically activating a pathway called mTOR. Think of mTOR as the on switch that tells your muscles to begin constructing new muscle fibers. This process is critical for maintaining the strength in your leg muscles, especially the large muscles in your calves, thighs, and glutes that keep you upright and mobile. Fresh eggs naturally contain high levels of bioactive leucine in a form your body can easily use. However, when you overcook eggs, leaving them on high heat until the edges turn brown and crispy, or cooking them until they become tough and rubbery, the intense heat fundamentally changes the protein structure. This process, called denaturation, doesn't just change how the eggs look and taste, it alters the molecular structure of leucine itself. Once leucine's structure is damaged by excessive heat, it loses its biological activity. Even though the leucine is technically still present in the overcooked eggs, your body can no longer recognize it or use it effectively. It's like having a key that's been bent out of shape. It might still look like a key, but it won't turn the lock anymore. This becomes particularly problematic for your leg muscles, which require constant maintenance and rebuilding. Every day, your leg muscles experience microscopic damage from normal activities like walking, climbing stairs, and simply supporting your body weight. Your calves work continuously to help you push off with each step, while your thigh muscles power you up, inclines, and help you stand from seated positions. Under normal circumstances, consuming leucine-rich foods would trigger mTOR activation, signaling your leg muscles to begin repair and rebuilding processes. New muscle proteins would be synthesized to replace damaged ones, keeping your muscles strong and functional. However, when you consistently eat overcooked eggs, you're depriving your leg muscles of this essential signal. Without adequate leucine activation, your leg muscles cannot effectively rebuild after daily wear and tear. Instead of maintaining their strength and size, they gradually begin to shrink and weaken. This process happens slowly, so you might not notice it immediately. But over months and years, the effects become increasingly apparent. Your calf muscles, which are crucial for balance and walking stability, begin to lose their power. Simple activities like rising on your toes or pushing off forcefully while walking become more difficult. Your thigh muscles, responsible for lifting your legs and supporting your body weight, start to feel weaker when climbing stairs or getting up from chairs. This muscle deterioration is especially concerning as you age, because older adults naturally have a reduced ability to build new muscle tissue. Therefore, leucine deficiency led to accelerated muscle loss, specifically in the areas you need most for mobility and balance. What seems like adequate protein, but because leucine has been rendered biologically inactive, your leg muscles aren't receiving the signal they need to maintain themselves. You're essentially eating protein that can't fulfill its most important function, keeping your leg muscles strong enough to support you throughout your daily activities. And what happens when you remove the most powerful part? Mistake number 4. Skipping egg yolks. How avoiding the yellow sabotages your leg control. When you separate eggs and only eat the whites, thinking you're making a cholesterol-free choice, you're actually depriving your leg muscles of a critical nutrient they need to function properly: choline. Egg yolks are one of the richest dietary sources of choline, a nutrient that plays an essential role in muscle control and coordination. Your body uses choline as the raw material to produce acetylcholine, a chemical messenger that carries signals from your brain directly to your muscles, like a communication system between your nervous system and leg muscles. Every time you want to move your legs, whether you're taking a step, shifting your weight, or adjusting your balance, your brain sends electrical signals down to your leg muscles. But these signals can't jump directly from nerve to muscle. They need acetylcholine to bridge that gap and deliver the message effectively. Without adequate choline from your diet, your body cannot produce sufficient acetylcholine to maintain clear communication with your leg muscles. When you consistently skip egg yolks and miss out on this choline, the signals from your brain to your leg muscles become weaker and less precise. Your calf muscles, which need to contract and relax with perfect timing to maintain balance, begin to respond more slowly to your brain's commands. Your thigh muscles, responsible for lifting your legs and controlling your movements, become less responsive and coordinated. This communication breakdown becomes most noticeable when you need quick, precise movements from your legs. When you step on an uneven surface and need to quickly adjust your balance, your leg muscles may not respond fast enough because the acetylcholine signal is insufficient. When you're walking and need to change direction suddenly, your legs might not get the message quickly enough, causing you to stumble or feel unsteady. The problem becomes even more pronounced when you're standing for extended periods. Your leg muscles need constant, subtle adjustments to keep you upright and stable. Without adequate acetylcholine, these muscles begin to fatigue more quickly and may even develop a slight tremor as they struggle to maintain proper control. You might notice your legs feeling shaky or unsteady after standing in one place for a while, or have trouble maintaining balance during simple activities. This choline deficiency is particularly dangerous for older adults. When natural aging combines with choline deficiency, the result is significantly impaired leg muscle control. Simple movements that once felt automatic, like stepping over obstacles or walking on uneven surfaces, become much more challenging and riskier. Many people avoid egg yolks because of cholesterol and heart health concern, but they end up creating a much more immediate and dangerous problem: loss of muscle control that dramatically increases their risk of falls and injuries. A fall can be far more devastating to your health and independence than any theoretical cholesterol effect. Your leg muscles need that constant, clear communication from your brain to function properly. When skipping the yolks, you're essentially creating static in the communication line between your brain and your legs, making every movement less controlled and more unpredictable. But seasoning mistakes may also quietly sabotage your muscle control. Mistake number 5: adding too much salt to eggs. How extra sodium steals your leg muscle. Relaxation. When adding excessive salt to your eggs, whether through table salt, soy sauce, or other salty seasonings, you're setting up your leg muscles for painful nighttime cramps that will disrupt your sleep and leave you feeling exhausted next morning. The problem begins with how your kidneys handle the excess sodium from oversalted eggs. When you consume high amounts of salt, your kidneys work overtime to flush out the extra sodium through your urine. However, this process doesn't just eliminate sodium, but also two other critical minerals that your leg muscles desperately need: potassium and magnesium. These two minerals play essential roles in maintaining the electrical stability of your muscle cell membranes. Think of potassium and magnesium as the regulators that keep your muscle cells calm and controlled. They work together to maintain the proper electrical balance that allows your muscles to contract when needed and, more importantly, relax completely when it's time to rest. Your leg muscles, particularly your calves, which contain dense bundles of muscle fibers, are especially vulnerable to this mineral imbalance. During the day, when you're active and moving around, your muscles can often compensate for minor deficiencies. However, at night, when you're lying still in bed, the lack of potassium and magnesium becomes much more apparent. Without adequate levels of these minerals, your leg muscle cells become hyperexcitable. The electrical balance that normally keeps them stable becomes disrupted, making them prone to sudden, involuntary contractions. This is exactly what happens during a muscle cramp. Your calf muscles contract forcefully and refuse to relax because they lack the minerals needed to return to their resting state. These nighttime leg cramps typically strike without warning, often jolting you awake with intense pain in your calf muscles. The affected muscle becomes rock hard and extremely painful, sometimes lasting for several minutes before finally releasing. The timing of these cramps isn't coincidental. During sleep, your body's circulation slows down, and the mineral imbalances caused by excessive salt consumption become more pronounced in your leg muscles. Your calves, being the farthest from your heart and containing large muscle masses, are often the first to experience these painful contractions. Beyond the immediate pain and sleep disruption, these recurring cramps create a cycle of muscle fatigue and tension. When your leg muscles can't relax properly during sleep, the time when they should be recovering from the day's activities, they remain partially contracted and stressed throughout the night. You wake up with muscles that feel tight, tired, and unprepared for another day of supporting your body weight. You might think you're simply adding flavor to your eggs, But you're creating a mineral imbalance that directly attacks your leg muscles' ability to function normally. Over time, this pattern of salt-induced mineral loss and nighttime cramping can significantly impact your overall leg muscle health and your quality of sleep, leaving you in a constant state of muscle tension and fatigue. Even healthy eggs become harmful if you pair them the wrong way. Mistake number 6. Not pairing eggs with fiber-rich foods. The silent joint destroyer. When you eat eggs without including fiber-rich vegetables or foods alongside them, you're unknowingly creating a perfect storm for chronic joint inflammation that specifically targets your knees and hips, the very joints you depend on for walking, standing, and moving through daily life. Eggs themselves contain virtually no fiber. When you pair them with refined carbohydrates, like white bread, white rice, or pastries without adding any vegetables, fruits, or other fiber-rich foods, you create a meal that causes your blood sugar to spike rapidly and dramatically. This sudden surge in blood sugar triggers a cascade of inflammatory responses throughout your body. High blood sugar levels act like an alarm signal, activating your immune cells and causing them to release inflammatory molecules called cytokines. These cytokines don't just float harmlessly in your bloodstream. They specifically target the cartilage and soft tissues surrounding your joints. Your knee and hip joints bear the brunt of this inflammatory attack because they're your body's primary weight-bearing joints. Every step you take, every time you stand up or sit down, these joints experience significant stress and pressure. When inflammatory cytokines flood into these already stressed areas, they begin attacking the delicate cartilage that cushions your joints and keeps them moving smoothly. This process happens silently and gradually. You won't feel the inflammation immediately after eating fiber-free egg breakfast. Instead, the damage accumulates over weeks, months, and years of repeated blood sugar spikes. Over time, the chronic inflammation begins to break down the cartilage in your knees and hips. What starts as perfectly smooth, cushioned joint surfaces becomes rough and damaged. Your joints gradually lose their ability to glide effortlessly during movement, becoming increasingly stiff and resistant to motion. You'll first notice this damage when simple movements become more difficult and uncomfortable. Standing up from a chair, which once felt effortless, starts requiring more effort and may cause discomfort in your knees or hips. Walking quickly or climbing stairs becomes increasingly challenging as your joints lose their smooth function. Even basic movements like bending down or squatting become painful and restricted. The insidious nature of this fiber-deficient eating pattern means that by the time you notice joint stiffness and pain, significant damage has already occurred. Your knee and hip cartilage, once damaged by chronic inflammation, has limited ability to repair itself. Fiber-rich foods would have prevented this entire cascade by slowing down sugar absorption and preventing the blood sugar spikes that trigger inflammation. Vegetables, fruits, and whole grains act like a protective buffer, ensuring that your blood sugar rises gradually rather than spiking dramatically. Eggs themselves aren't harmful, they're nutritious. However, when you consistently eat them as part of fiber-poor meals, you transform this healthy protein source into a contributor to joint destruction. And sometimes, it's not what you eat, but when you eat it. Mistake number 7. Eating eggs late at night without slow digesting protein. The silent muscle thief. When you eat eggs as your late-night snack without pairing them with slow-digesting proteins like cottage cheese, you're unknowingly setting up your leg muscles for a destructive process that happens while you sleep. A process that gradually steals away your muscle mass night after night. Eggs are fast-digesting proteins. When you consume them before bed, your body quickly breaks them down and releases their amino acids into your bloodstream. These amino acids provide the building blocks your muscles need for repair and growth. However, this surge of nutrients is short-lived, typically lasting only 3 to 4 hours before your blood amino acid levels drop dramatically. This timing creates a critical problem for your leg muscles. During sleep, your body enters its most important recovery phase, when muscle repair and rebuilding should be at their peak. Your leg muscles, your calves, thighs, and all the supporting muscles that carried you through the day need a steady supply of amino acids throughout the night to properly recover and maintain their strength. When your blood amino acid levels crash after those initial 3 to 4 hours, your body faces a dilemma. Your leg muscles still need energy and building materials to continue their nighttime recovery processes. But there are no amino acids left circulating in your blood. Your body doesn't simply pause the recovery process and wait until morning. Instead, it turns to the most readily available source of amino acids, your existing muscle tissue. This process, called nighttime muscle breakdown, begins silently while you sleep. Your body starts dismantling your own leg muscle fibers to harvest the amino acids it needs to fuel essential functions. What should be a time of muscle building and repair becomes a time of muscle destruction and loss. This breakdown particularly affects your leg muscles because they contain some of the largest muscle masses in your body and have high amino acid requirements for maintenance. Your quadriceps, hamstrings, and calf muscles, the very muscles you depend on for walking, standing, and maintaining balance, become the primary targets for this nighttime cannibalization. The insidious nature of this process means you won't feel it happening. You'll simply wake up each morning with your leg muscles slightly weaker than they were the night before. Over weeks and months, this nightly muscle loss accumulates, leading to noticeable changes in your leg strength and stability. For older adults, this nighttime muscle breakdown is particularly devastating because the natural aging process already reduces muscle building capacity. When you combine age-related muscle loss with this preventable nighttime destruction, the result is accelerated leg muscle deterioration. The tragedy is that this entire process could be prevented by simply adding slow-digesting proteins like cottage cheese to your late-night egg snack. Cottage cheese contains casein protein, which releases amino acids slowly throughout the night, providing your leg muscles with the steady fuel they need for proper recovery and maintenance. Therefore, eating eggs late at night without slow digesting protein represents a nightly assault on your leg muscle mass, gradually weakening the very foundation that keeps you mobile and independent. Final message: the eggs we once trusted, the ones we scrambled, fried, or boiled without much thought, may be quietly wearing down our legs, one habit at a time. But here's the good news: you don't have to give up eggs. You just need to handle them with care. Swap the oil, keep the yolk, skip the bacon, and maybe stir in some fiber. These aren't drastic changes. They're simple, doable steps, and they add up. Because you've walked through decades supporting others, working hard, showing up. Now, your legs deserve the same care in return. That morning stiffness. It's not just age. It's your body asking for better choices. And the path forward. It starts with one breakfast, one better plate, one steadier step. So take that small step today, not because you must, but because you can, and because the strength to keep moving is still yours to reclaim one egg at a time.